Okay, so my second task was hotel reservation analysis using SQL. I started off by creating a database. We can create a database by using the SQL command create database and then the database name. The name I used over in my task was hotel reservation. Then I created a table of reservation in which I added different columns according to what was present in the CSV file. Um, with each column, I also set up the data type for it, and and since the booking ID was the primary key, it was supposed to be not null. Then to read a CSV file, I first created a temporary table named tagging reservation. It was similar to what I just showed, the actual reservation table, but instead of having the actual data type like integer, float, etc., I just simply used nvarchar, which is like a string. I used it so that if there is any data type incompatibility issue, I could get it resolved first. So this is the code I use to read from the CSV file. This is just bulk insert in staging reservation. This means that all the rows will be inserted in the starting reservation table at once from this path that is given below with field terminator is comma because it is a CSV file like comma separated file, and the row terminator was \n so that we get the code can differentiate between different rows, and the first row is set to 2 because the first row in the CSV file only showed the column names. Then I copied the data from staging reservation to my actual reservation table, and while copying it, I used the try convert command to convert each of my entries into the specific data type, and then finally I dropped the table tagging reservation because it was no longer needed. So this is what the resulting table looks like. This is the resulting reservation table. So moving on to the SQL queries. The first one was, what is the total number of reservations in the data set? So I simply use the aggregate count function to count the number of rows in reservation. Okay, then I used the aggregate function to count the number of rows in the reservation table. Moving on, I had this. Uh, which meal plan is the most popular among the guests? To use this, I use the top one command, which would select the entry that is in the top of the table, and from I'm using another subtable from another subtable, and this subtable actually calculates the popularity of each table, grouping them by the type of meal plan. So this was the result, which is meal plan 1. Then I had what is the average price per room for reservation for involving children. So we had an average price per room column. So I just simply displayed it where the number of children were greater than 0. So this is the booking ID, number of children, and the average price per room was displayed. Then we have how many reservations were made for the year 20XX. Since we have XX, the minimum year that we would have would be 2000, and the maximum year would be 2099, and that is why in the where clause I am putting a condition on the only the year of the arrival date, and we are just again simply counting now by using the count aggregate function. And this was the final result. Since all of the arrival years were of all the entries were between 2000 to 2099. Then we have what is the most compulsory booked room type. Again, over here I used a similar uh, logic like I used in this third question, which is selecting the top row from an sub table, which is just named temp over here. Popularity of each individual room type reserved was calculated, and this was my result. Okay, then we have how many reservations fall on a weekend, which means number of weekend nights greater than equal to 0. So again, just simply selecting from the table and counting them using the aggregate count functions, and this was the result. What is the highest and lowest lead time? So over here we are going to use the max and minimum aggregate function, and simply I applied it on the lead time and it will give us the max and min lead time. Then is what is the most common market segment type for reservation? This is quite similar to the logics I used before for finding the most popular room type, or um, most popular room type. And there was one other thing I don't remember. Anyways, this is the for again over here what I used was select top one market segment type, and from a sub table where I counted popularity of each market segment type, and then this was the result. Okay, then we have how many reservations have a booking status of confirmed. So it was also very easy, just simply checking if the booking status is confirmed in the where clause, and then using the count aggregate function to count the number of rows. And then this was final answer. Okay, what is the total number of adults and children across all reservations? So because each reservation have different number of children, so the aggregate function used over here is sum, and we'll just simply apply it on the reservation table and we'll get the final answer, which was this. And then we have what is the average number of weekend nights for reservation involving children. So if there are children involved, this means that the number of children will be greater than 0, right? So this is what we have in the where condition. And then since we have to find the average number of weekend nights, I used the aggregate average function and applied it on the number of weekend nights, and just simply displayed it. How many reservations were made in each month of the year? To check this, I just first group the arrival date by month, and then use the count function uh, on the entire table, and my answer looked something like this. I'll also display the month against each entry to see the results. What is the average number of nights, both weekend and weekday, spent by guests for each room type? Okay, so for this, since we have to look for each room type, in my group by clause, I will add room type, the reserved room type. Room type reserved, and then I will be since I am looking for both weekend and weekday in my average aggregate function, I will be using the sum of number of weekend nights plus number of weeknights, and this was the result. And then we have for reservations involving children, what is the most common room time and what is the average price for that? And then again over here, since we have a most common room type, which means the most popular, so I used the same logic I have been using in 2-3 queries before to find the most popular room type, which was to make a sub table, find the popularity in that table, and then use that, and then select the top row from the table after ordering it in a descending order. But since over here we also had to find the average price for that room, I also added this average price per room column in my sub table, and then used it finally in my main table, and this was the result. Find the market segment type that generates the highest average price per room. So again, as you can see, we have to find the average, highest average price, most popular, something like that. So we'll again move towards the logic of using top one command, and again over here we use the sub table concept, where instead of finding the popularity this time, I'm finding the average price per room, since we have to look for the highest average price per room. And then I will just order the average price in descending order, and display and select the top one row to display my results. And this is it. Thank you so much. This was all from my side.